I thought signing that prenup would protect my daughter's future. I had no idea I was walking straight into a trap that would nearly destroy both our lives. My name is Ethan Reynolds, and this is the story of how a piece of paper, a wealthy family's greed, and one dangerous man almost took everything from me. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to where it all began, that cold February morning in downtown Chicago. The marble floors of Morrison & Associates gleamed under the chandelier lighting, so polished I could see my reflection. I didn't belong here. Not in this world of $1,000 suits and leather chairs that probably cost more than my monthly rent. I sat across from Scarlet Hayes, the woman I'd fallen in love with 8 months ago. The woman who'd swept into my life like something out of a dream. Beautiful, confident, successful. Everything I thought I'd never have. "It's just a formality, baby," Scarlet said, sliding the prenuptial agreement across the mahogany table. Her smile was perfect. Too perfect. But I didn't see that then. My 5-year-old daughter Harper sat in the corner, her braids bouncing as she colored in her Disney princess book, completely unaware of what was happening. She hummed softly, and that sound, that innocent, happy sound, was the only real thing in that room. "Sign it, Ethan." The voice came from the leather chair by the window. Victoria Hayes. Scarlett's mother. She didn't even look up from her phone, her diamond rings catching the light as she typed. "Let's not waste everyone's time here. We all know you work at that little community center in Bronzeville. We're simply protecting our daughter's assets." Assets. The word hit me like a slap. I worked 60-hour weeks as a youth counselor at the Bronzeville Youth Center, helping kids who looked like me find hope in a world that often had none for them. I drove a 10-year-old Toyota Camry with a cracked windshield. My apartment was a cramped 2-bedroom where Harper and I shared more love than space. I wasn't ashamed of my life. But sitting in that office, with Victoria's contempt hanging in the air like expensive perfume, I felt small. "Scarlett," I said quietly, "we talked about this. I thought you said your family understood." "They do understand, Ethan." Scarlett reached across and touched my hand. Her skin was cold. "They understand that I love you. This is just protection. For both of us. Don't you want to protect Harper?" And there it was. The one button they knew would make me do anything. I looked at my daughter. Harper. My whole world. Her mother had died in a car accident when she was 2, and for 3 years, it had been just us against everything. Every sacrifice, every double shift, every night I'd gone to bed exhausted, it was all for her. If signing this paper meant Harper would have stability, a real family, a mother figure who seemed to love her, what was my pride worth? I picked up the pen. The attorney, a thin man named Maxwell Pierce, slid the document closer. 23 pages of legal language that basically said if this marriage ended, I'd leave with exactly what I came with. Nothing. My hand trembled as I signed my name on page 23. "Excellent," Victoria said, finally looking up. "Welcome to the family, Ethan." Something in her eyes made my stomach turn. It wasn't warmth. It wasn't welcome. It was victory. 3 months later, I stood in the Peninsula Chicago, one of the most expensive hotels in the city, watching my wedding reception unfold like a movie I wasn't actually in. The ceremony had been beautiful. Harper looked like an angel in her flower girl dress, rose petals trailing behind her as she walked down the aisle. Scarlett had been stunning in her designer gown. I'd worn the best suit I could afford, and tried not to notice how Richard Hayes, Scarlett's father, had shaken my hand exactly once, with all the enthusiasm of touching a dirty doorknob. Now, surrounded by Chicago's elite, I felt like an exhibit. Scarlett's friends, Ava Morrison and Madison Pierce, whispered and giggled whenever I approached. Victoria had seated me at what she called the overflow table, away from the Hayes family's inner circle. Away from my own wedding reception. But none of that mattered because Harper was happy. She danced with the other kids, her laughter cutting through the classical music and polite conversation. As long as she was happy, I could endure anything. Then I saw him. A man stood near the bar, watching. Not watching the reception, watching Scarlet. His eyes tracked her movements across the room with an intensity that made my skin crawl. He was tall, well-built, expensive suit, the kind of handsome that came with arrogance. And when Scarlet passed near him, he reached out and touched her lower back. Intimate. Familiar. She didn't pull away. My chest tightened. I walked over, forcing a smile. Ethan. Scarlet's voice was too bright, too performative. This is Damien Cross. He's an old family friend. Known each other since college. Damien extended his hand, and I shook it. His grip was unnecessarily firm, a power play disguised as politeness. Congratulations on joining the family, Ethan, Damien said. His smile didn't reach his eyes. I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot of each other. Oh, Damien is practically family, Scarlet added quickly. He works closely with my father on the mayoral campaign. Community outreach, public relations, that sort of thing. Community outreach. The way she said it made it sound dirty. Well, it's nice to meet you, I said, trying to read the situation. Something was off. The way Damien looked at Scarlet. The way Victoria smiled knowingly from across the room. The way Scarlet's hand lingered on Damien's arm just a second too long. Oh, we're going to get to know each other very well, Damien said, his voice low enough that only I could hear. Very well indeed. He walked away, and I stood there, my new wedding ring suddenly feeling like a shackle. Harper tugged on my jacket. Daddy, can we go home soon? I'm tired. I picked her up, holding her close. Soon, baby girl. Soon. But as I carried Harper toward the coat check, I looked back at the reception one more time. Damien Cross stood near the window, watching me. And the look on his face wasn't friendly. It was predatory. Like he was a hunter, and I was prey who'd just walked into his trap. I should have trusted that feeling. I should have grabbed Harper and run that very night. Because what I didn't know, what I couldn't have known, was that Damien Cross wasn't just a family friend. He was the most dangerous man I'd ever meet. And in 6 weeks, he would try to take everything from me. My marriage. My money. And worst of all, my daughter. If you want to find out what happens next, make sure you're subscribed to this channel. That handshake at my wedding reception should have been my warning. The way Damien Cross smiled at me like a wolf watching a lamb. But I was too blind, too hopeful, too desperate to believe that Scarlet actually loved me. 6 weeks. That's how long it took for my dream marriage to become a living nightmare. And it all started with my daughter's scream. I left the Bronzeville Youth Center early that Tuesday afternoon. One of the kids I mentored, a 14-year-old named Marcus, had just gotten accepted into a college prep program, and I was riding high on that victory. Small wins. That's what kept me going. I texted Scarlet that I'd be home early, maybe we could all have dinner together. She didn't respond. She rarely did anymore. The penthouse in Lincoln Park still didn't feel like home, even after 6 weeks of marriage. It was Scarlet's space, all white furniture and abstract art that cost more than my yearly salary. Harper and I were just guests in a museum. I opened the door and heard it immediately. Crying. Not just crying, sobbing. The kind of sound that makes every parent's heart stop. Harper! I dropped my bag and ran toward her bedroom. She sat on her bed, clutching her stuffed elephant, tears streaming down her brown cheeks. And there, on her small arm, was a bruise. Dark purple, finger-shaped. Fresh. The world tilted. Baby, what happened? I knelt in front of her, my hands shaking as I gently examined her arm. Who did this to you? Harper hiccuped, her voice barely a whisper. Miss Scarlet. My blood turned to ice. She grabbed me really hard, Daddy. I was playing in the living room during her phone call, and she said I was being too loud. She said I was ruining her important conversation. Harper's lip trembled. She said I'm a burden. That I ruin everything. Rage flooded through me like fire. Not the hot, explosive kind. The cold, deadly kind that makes your hands stop shaking and your vision go crystal clear. I kissed Harper's forehead. Stay here, baby girl. Daddy's going to handle this. I walked out of that bedroom a different man than the one who'd walked in. The living room was filled with laughter. Scarlet stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Chicago, a glass of wine in her hand. And there, sitting on my couch like he owned the place, was Damien Cross. 2 wine glasses. 2 plates of cheese and crackers. Classical music playing softly. They looked like a couple. Get out. My voice was quiet. Deadly. Scarlet turned, surprise flashing across her face before it settled into annoyance. Ethan, you're home early. Damien and I were just going over strategy for my father's campaign. You put your hands on my daughter. I took a step forward. You hurt Harper. Get out. Now. Damien stood slowly, that same predatory smile from the wedding spreading across his face. He was bigger than me, taller, and he knew it. He walked toward me with the confidence of someone who'd never faced consequences. Or what, community center boy? Damien's voice dripped with contempt. You'll call the cops? In this penthouse that Scarlet owns? With your word against hers? He laughed. Good luck with that. Ethan, don't be so dramatic. Scarlet set down her wine glass with a sharp click. Harper is fine. She's just sensitive. She was being disruptive during an important call about my father's mayoral campaign, and I corrected her. Unlike you, I have actual important work to do. You left a bruise on a 5-year-old child. I barely touched her, Scarlet said coldly. Then her face changed. The mask dropped. And what I saw underneath made my stomach turn. Let me be very clear with you, Ethan. Your daughter is a useful prop. Just like you. Did you really think I loved you? The words hit like physical blows. Damien stepped closer, invading my space. Let me explain how this works, since you seem confused. Scarlet married you for one reason, diversity optics for Richard Hayes' mayoral campaign. A white woman married to a black single dad, raising his adorable black daughter? The press loves that story. The voters eat it up. That prenup you signed? Scarlet added, examining her nails. You'll leave this marriage with absolutely nothing. But we'll get everything we need from you. Community access. Credibility in neighborhoods like Bronzeville. Photo opportunities with Harper. You're a political tool, Ethan. Nothing more. My hands clenched into fists. I'm taking Harper and leaving. Tonight. No. Damien's voice went flat and cold. You're not. He pulled out his phone and showed me a screen. Legal documents. Court filings. See this? We've already started building a case. Neglectful father. Works too many hours. Unstable housing before the marriage. Daughter showing signs of emotional distress. That's all lies. Doesn't matter, Damien interrupted. The Hayes family owns half the family court judges in Cook County. Judge Walter Pierce? Victoria's golfing buddy. You're a single black dad with no money, working at a community center. Scarlet is a wealthy white woman with connections, resources, and a family with political power. He leaned in close, his breath hot on my face. Who do you think they'll give custody to? My world collapsed. Try to leave, and you'll lose that little girl, Damien continued, his voice almost a whisper. She'll end up in the system, bounced from foster home to foster home. And you? You'll be lucky to get supervised visits once a month. Scarlet smiled. So here's what's going to happen, Ethan. You're going to stay. You're going to smile for the cameras. You're going to help my father win votes in the black community. And you're going to keep that daughter of yours quiet and presentable. And if I don't? Damien's smile turned vicious. Then Harper disappears into foster care, and you never see her again. I've done this before, Ethan. I know exactly how to make problems go away. The threat wasn't empty. I could see it in his eyes. This man was capable of anything. Now get out of our way, Scarlet said, brushing past me. Damien and I have actual work to do. They walked toward the master bedroom, my bedroom, laughing like I wasn't even there. I stood in that living room, trapped. Powerless. Terrified. They had me exactly where they wanted me. That night, after Scarlet and Damien left for a campaign event, I sat in Harper's room watching her sleep. She'd cried herself to exhaustion, her small body curled around her stuffed elephant. I'd failed her. I'd brought a monster into our lives, and now we were trapped. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. An unknown number. Ethan Reynolds. This is Jerome Banks, your father's estate attorney. We need to meet tonight. Emergency. Your life may be in danger. Come alone. Don't tell anyone. 247 West Madison Street, 10th floor. I'll be waiting. I stared at the message, my heart pounding. My father. Marcus Reynolds. He'd died when I was 19, 11 years ago. He'd left me with nothing but medical debt and funeral expenses. I hadn't heard from any estate attorney. There was no estate. But the message said my life was in danger. How did this attorney know that? I looked at Harper, then at the message again. 247 West Madison Street. That was downtown. A 30-minute drive. I called my neighbor, Mrs. Chen, a retired teacher who sometimes watched Harper. She agreed to come over immediately, no questions asked. At 9:47 p.m., I stood outside a sleek office building in the Chicago Loop. The lobby was empty except for a security guard who checked his list and waved me to the elevators. 10th floor. Office 1014. Jerome Banks, estate attorney. The door was unlocked. I pushed it open. A man in his 60s sat behind a massive desk, files spread everywhere. He looked up as I entered, and his face was grim. Ethan Reynolds. Yes. Sit down. We don't have much time. He pushed a folder toward me. Your father left you something. Something worth $10.3 million. The room spun. And the people you're living with? Jerome's voice was urgent. They know about it. They've known for 2 years. That marriage, that prenup, Damien Cross, it's all a trap. And if we don't act fast, they're going to take everything. Including your daughter. $10 million. A conspiracy. My entire marriage was a lie. And somewhere in that penthouse, Damien Cross was planning his next move. $10 million. Those words kept echoing in my head as I sat in Jerome Banks' office at 10 o'clock at night. My father, the man who'd died broke, leaving me with nothing but debt, had been secretly wealthy. And the woman I'd married, the woman who'd hurt my daughter, had known about it all along. But that wasn't even the worst part. Because what Jerome showed me next made my blood run colder than anything I could have imagined. Your father was a brilliant man, Jerome said, spreading documents across his desk. Marcus Reynolds filed 17 tech patents between 1998 and 2009. Security encryption algorithms. 3 of them are currently used by major financial institutions worldwide. I stared at the papers. My father's signature. Legal documents stamped and certified. Bank statements with numbers that made my head spin. Why didn't he tell me? My voice cracked. Why did he let me struggle? Why did he let me think we were broke? Jerome's expression softened. He wanted you to build character first. To understand the value of hard work before you understood the privilege of wealth. His trust had specific conditions. You couldn't access the funds until you turned 30 or got married, whichever came first. I was 29. 6 months away from 30. The moment you signed your marriage license, Jerome continued, the trust was triggered. You became the legal beneficiary of $10.3 million in assets, patents, and investments. But I never got any notification. Because someone intercepted it. Jerome pulled out another folder, this one thicker. The Hayes family hired private investigators 2 years ago. They identified you as a potential target. Young, single father, working class, about to inherit significant wealth. Perfect mark for their operation. Operation. The word tasted bitter. Jerome opened the folder, and my world shattered completely. Surveillance photos spilled across the desk. Scarlet and Damien together. Not recently, these were dated 18 months ago. 2 years ago. 3 years ago. Kissing. Holding hands. Entering hotel rooms together. Scarlet Hayes and Damien Cross have been in a relationship for 6 years, Jerome said quietly. They met in college. Never broke up. Your entire relationship with Scarlet was manufactured. I couldn't breathe. Jerome pulled out more documents. This is an email from Victoria Hayes to Damien Cross, dated 2 years ago. He read aloud. Target identified, Ethan Reynolds, 27, single father, youth counselor, inheritance pending at age 30 or marriage. Begin engagement protocol. Timeline, 18 months maximum. Engagement protocol. I was a target. A mission. Here's the strategy memo from Richard Hayes' campaign manager. Jerome continued, sliding another paper forward. Operation Diversity. Secure marriage to Reynolds before inheritance activation. Utilize relationship for minority voter outreach. Maximize political capital through interracial family optics. Extract financial assets post-inheritance through coercion or legal manipulation. Every word was a knife. They planned this for 2 years. I whispered. Every date, every smile, every time she told me she loved me. All calculated. Jerome's voice was grim. But it gets worse, Ethan. Worse. How could it possibly get worse? He pulled out a criminal background report. Damien Cross. Real name, Damien Costillanos. Sealed juvenile record for aggravated assault. As an adult, he's been investigated in 3 states, Wisconsin, Ohio, and now Illinois, for targeting single parents, particularly single fathers, in elaborate fraud schemes. My hands started shaking. His pattern is consistent, Jerome continued. He identifies vulnerable single parents about to receive inheritances or settlements. He works with a female accomplice, sometimes it's Scarlet, sometimes others, who initiates a relationship. They marry the target, then use custody threats to force the victim to sign over assets. If the victim resists. Jerome slid forward newspaper clippings. Missing person reports. 3 different men. All single fathers. All last seen with Damien Cross or his associates. 2 are still missing. 1 was found dead in Lake Michigan last year. Ruled an accidental drowning, but the investigation was closed suspiciously fast. Judge Walter Pierce presided over the custody hearing in that case too. I thought I was going to be sick. Damien Cross isn't just a con artist, Ethan. He's dangerous. Potentially violent. And right now, he has access to your daughter. The room tilted. Harper. Sweet, innocent Harper, alone in that penthouse with these monsters. We need to go. I stood up, panic flooding through me. We need to get Harper right now. Stop. Jerome's command froze me. If you go charging in there, you'll tip them off. They'll accelerate their timeline. They could grab Harper and disappear before we can build a case. We need to be smart about this. Smart? I was shouting now. My daughter is with a man who's made other people disappear. You want me to be smart? I want you to save her, Jerome said firmly. And the only way to do that is to take down the entire operation. All of them. At once. He pulled out a business card and slid it across the desk. FBI Special Agent Marcus Grayson. Organized Crime Unit. He's been investigating Damien Cross for 2 years, building a case against a larger corruption ring involving Judge Pierce and several Chicago politicians. He needs evidence. Hard evidence. And you're in the perfect position to get it. I stared at the card. You want me to go back there? To that penthouse? To pretend everything is fine while wearing a wire? It's the only way to protect Harper long-term, Jerome said. Get the evidence. Let the FBI take them down. Otherwise, even if you run, they'll hunt you. They have resources, connections, and nothing to lose. I called Agent Grayson from Jerome's office. He arrived 30 minutes later, a tall black man in his 40s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. "Mr. Reynolds," he said, shaking my hand. "I've been waiting for someone on the inside. Damien Cross has destroyed families across 3 states. Judge Pierce has buried evidence in at least 7 cases. And the Hayes family has been using their political connections to cover tracks for years. What do you need from me? Confessions. Recorded conversations. Proof of conspiracy, fraud, custody manipulation, and threats. We need them to lay out their entire plan on tape. Can you do that?" I thought about Harper. About the bruise on her arm. About those missing fathers. "Tell me what to do." For the next 2 hours, Agent Grayson explained the operation. I'd wear a wire. Continue acting like the trapped, powerless victim. Draw out confessions from Scarlet, Damien, and Victoria. The fundraiser for Richard Hayes' mayoral campaign at the Drake Hotel in 3 weeks would be the takedown point, all conspirators in one place. 3 weeks. I looked at both men. You want me to live with these people for 3 more weeks while my daughter is in danger? We'll have undercover agents monitoring the building 24/7, Agent Grayson assured me. The moment Harper is in immediate danger, we move. But if we can wait for the fundraiser, we can arrest everyone simultaneously. No one escapes. Jerome handed me another document. I've also filed an emergency motion to freeze any access Scarlet has to your inheritance funds. As of tonight, she can't touch a penny. That'll make them desperate. Desperate people make mistakes. And reveal their true plans, Agent Grayson added. I looked at the wire equipment on the desk. Then at my phone, where a photo of Harper smiling lit up the screen. When do we start? Agent Grayson smiled. Tomorrow morning. Go home. Act defeated. Let them think they've won. And then we take them down. I left that office building at 1:47 a.m. and drove back toward Lincoln Park. My phone buzzed with a text from Scarlet. Where are you? We need to talk about new rules for Harper tomorrow. New rules. The audacity made me want to scream. I was about to reply when another text came through. Unknown number. A photo. My heart stopped. It was Harper. Asleep in her bed. Taken from inside her bedroom. Tonight. While I was gone. The next text made my blood turn to ice. Nice meeting with the lawyer, Ethan. Did you really think we wouldn't be watching? You have 48 hours to sign over the inheritance. All of it. Or Harper takes a little trip, and you never see her again. Don't test me. I've done this before. Damien had been watching me. He knew about Jerome. He knew about the FBI. And he was inside my daughter's room right now. I called Agent Grayson, my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. They know, I gasped. They know everything. And Damien is with Harper right now. We have to move. We have to move now. On the other end of the line, I heard Agent Grayson curse, then shout orders to his team. We're rolling. Get to that penthouse. We're right behind you. I floored the accelerator, racing through Chicago's empty streets at 2 a.m. Harper. Hold on, baby girl. Daddy's coming. The wire, the plan, the careful investigation, it all went out the window the moment Damien Cross sent that photo. Now it was a race. Could I get to my daughter before a man who'd made other fathers disappear decided she was too much of a liability? I broke every traffic law in Chicago racing back to that penthouse at 2 in the morning. The photo of Harper sleeping, taken by a man who'd made other fathers disappear, was burned into my mind. 48 hours, Damien had said. But I knew men like him didn't keep their promises. They thought they had me trapped. They thought I was just another victim in their long line of destroyed families. They were about to learn how wrong they were. I hit the lobby of the Lincoln Park building at 2:17 a.m. Agent Grayson's voice crackled through my phone on speaker. Backup is 3 minutes out. Do not engage. Wait for us. My daughter is up there with a killer, I said, already running toward the elevator. I'm not waiting. The elevator ride to the 20th floor felt like an eternity. My heart hammered against my ribs. My hands shook. But my mind was crystal clear. I wasn't that powerless man who'd signed the prenup anymore. I wasn't the victim they'd thought they were marrying. I was a father. And there is nothing more dangerous than a father protecting his child. The penthouse door was unlocked. That should have been my first warning. I pushed it open slowly, and the living room was dark except for a single lamp. And there, sitting in the leather chair like he owned the place, was Damien Cross. He smiled. Right on time, Ethan. I knew you'd come running. Where's Harper? My voice was deadly calm. Sleeping. Safe. For now. Damien stood, and I saw the gun tucked into his waistband. You really thought you could meet with a lawyer and an FBI agent without me knowing? I've been doing this for 10 years, Ethan. I'm always 3 steps ahead. Behind me, I heard footsteps. Scarlet emerged from the hallway, and behind her, Victoria Hayes. All 3 of them. Blocking my path to Harper's room. Here's what's going to happen, Damien said, pulling out papers from the coffee table. You're going to sign this document transferring your entire inheritance to Scarlet. All $10.3 million. Then you're going to leave. Quietly. And if you ever try to contact Harper again, well. He patted his gun. Accidents happen. Single fathers drown in Lake Michigan all the time. The threat wasn't veiled anymore. It was direct. Fatal. You'll never get away with this, I said. Damien laughed. I already have. 4 times before you. And I'll do it again after you. That's when I heard it. A small voice from the hallway. Daddy! Harper stood in her doorway, rubbing her eyes, her stuffed elephant dragging on the floor. Everything inside me screamed to run to her. But Damien's hand moved toward his gun. Stay there, baby girl, I said, my voice breaking. Everything's okay. Smart choice, Damien said. Now sign the papers. What Damien didn't know was that I'd put on the FBI wire before leaving Jerome's office. Everything he'd just said, every threat, every confession, was being recorded. And Agent Grayson's backup wasn't 3 minutes away anymore. They were in the building. Before I sign, I said slowly, buying time, I want to know something. Why us? Why Harper and me? Damien shrugged. You were perfect. Single black father, working class, about to inherit millions. Richard Hayes needed minority votes for his mayoral campaign. Scarlet needed money. And I needed another payday. He smiled coldly. Your father's tech patents are worth more than 10 million in the long run. We're talking about 30, 40 million over the next decade. So you used my daughter as a prop, I said, anger rising. You hurt a 5-year-old child for money. I've done worse for less, Damien said casually. That's the game, Ethan. The strong survive. The weak get crushed. Scarlet stepped forward, holding out a pen. Sign the papers. This doesn't have to get ugly. Doesn't have to? I laughed bitterly. You put your hands on my daughter. You bruised her. You called her a burden. It's already ugly. Victoria Hayes spoke for the first time. That child should be grateful. We were giving her a life she'd never have with you. A life of privilege, education, connections. You were using her. I shouted. She's a human being, not a political tool. She's leverage, Damien corrected coldly. And right now, she's the reason you're going to sign those papers and disappear. Because if you don't. He pulled the gun out completely. Well, Harper becomes an orphan, and orphans are very easy to control. Especially when you have judges in your pocket. Harper whimpered from the doorway, and my heart shattered. That's when the door exploded inward. FBI. Hands in the air. Agent Grayson stormed in with 6 tactical agents, weapons drawn. Damien spun toward them, reaching for his gun, but he wasn't fast enough. 2 agents tackled him to the ground before he could draw. "Get down! Get down now!" Scarlet screamed. Victoria tried to run toward the balcony, but agents blocked every exit. Within 30 seconds, all 3 of them were on the ground, hands behind their backs, being cuffed. I ran to Harper and scooped her into my arms, shielding her eyes from the chaos. "It's okay, baby. Daddy's got you. You're safe now." Agent Grayson approached, holding up a recording device. "We got everything. The threats, the confession, the gun, all of it. Damien Cross, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud, attempted extortion, custodial interference, and possession of a weapon during commission of a felony." "You can't prove anything," Damien snarled from the floor. "Actually, we can." Agent Grayson smiled grimly. "Thanks to Mr. Reynolds here wearing a wire for the past 15 minutes. But that's not all. We've also arrested Judge Walter Pierce at his home for corruption and bribery. Richard Hayes is being taken into custody for conspiracy as his campaign fundraiser at the Drake Hotel as we speak. And we've got warrants for bank records, emails, everything." Scarlet's face went white. "I want my lawyer." "You'll need one," Agent Grayson said. "You're looking at 10 to 15 years. All of you." Victoria Hayes started crying. The powerful, condescending woman who'd looked down at me in that lawyer's office was now sobbing on her knees. Damien glared at me with pure hatred. "You think you've won? You think this is over?" I looked down at Harper in my arms, then back at Damien. "Yeah," I said quietly. "I do." As they dragged Damien toward the door, he lunged at me one final time, breaking free from the agents for just a second. "I'll get out. I'll find you. I'll make you." Agent Grayson's baton struck him in the ribs, and Damien went down hard. "That's assaulting a federal witness," Agent Grayson said coldly. "Add another 5 years." 6 months later, I stood in the backyard of our new home in Hyde Park. Not a penthouse. Not a mansion. Just a 3-bedroom house with a big yard where Harper could play safely. The inheritance was secured. The prenup had been voided by the courts due to fraud. And every single person involved in the conspiracy was behind bars. Damien Cross, 23 years in federal prison for multiple counts across 3 states. Scarlet Hayes, 12 years for fraud, conspiracy, and child endangerment. Victoria Hayes, 8 years for conspiracy and bribery. Judge Walter Pierce, 15 years for corruption, with his law license permanently revoked. Richard Hayes withdrew from the mayoral race, facing 10 years for his role in the conspiracy. The case made national news. Operation Diversity became a cautionary tale about political corruption and exploitation. But for me and Harper, it was simpler than that. We were free. Harper ran across the yard, laughing as she chased butterflies with her best friend Ava from the youth center. No more bruises. No more fear. No more being called a burden. "Daddy, can we get ice cream?" Harper called out, her smile bright and genuine. "Absolutely, baby girl," I said, kneeling down to hug her. "Anything you want." She wrapped her small arms around my neck. "I just want you, Daddy." And in that moment, I realized something. I'd been rich all along. Not because of my father's patents or the inheritance or the money in the bank. I'd been rich because I had Harper. Because I had love. Because I had fought for what mattered. The prenup had been designed to protect Scarlet's assets. But in the end, it had exposed exactly the right monsters. And it had saved exactly the right people. "I love you, Harper." "I love you too, Daddy." We walked toward my car, a practical Honda CR-V, because some things didn't need to change, and headed toward the ice cream shop on 53rd Street. Behind us, the house stood warm and welcoming. A real home. Finally. The nightmare was over. And our real life could finally begin. This story shows that no matter how powerful your enemies are, no matter how trapped you feel, truth and courage can win. Evil people count on good people staying silent. They count on victims being too afraid to fight back. But when you stand up, when you protect the ones you love, when you refuse to be a victim, that's when you become unstoppable. If this story moved you, if it made you think about standing up for what's right, then subscribe to this channel. Hit that notification bell. Because there are more stories like this, stories of courage, justice, and love triumphing over evil. And I promise you, every single one will be worth your time.